Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mindful Momentum Podcast. I am your host, Robin Todd, and I'm so glad you're here today. I am honored to be with two guests. So this is a little bit new for me. Normally, I just interview one person, but this duo come together with a project that they've been working on and a passion, and it aligns beautifully with our work at Mindful Momentum. And so I'm excited to have a conversation to dive into their work and so we all can learn and grow. So let me introduce Mary and Barb. Hello, Mary and Barb.
Hello.
And let me tell you a little bit about them and then we'll get started. So Mary Madill, am I pronouncing that correctly? Okay.
Yes.
Is a lifelong seeker and holistic health advocate with a master's degree in holistic health science studies. After raising three children, she brought her heart for service to hospice care and later served as the end of life program officer for the Morgan Family Foundation. Currently, she's channeling her passion into Wonder and Possibility, a blog, website, and the newly released Awe Deck, which invites people to explore life's deeper questions. She's also a proud mother and grandmother who loves yoga, tap dancing, pickleball, and pondering life's mysteries. She brings curiosity, compassion, and deep reflection into everything she does. So, welcome, Mary.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. We have lots in common. I can already tell we're going to have lots to talk about. So, everyone meet Barb Noble. She is an award winning educator with over 35 years of experience, inspiring gifted students in the Leesama School District with an MS master's in education and gifted education. Sorry, I'm like MSED. She's known for her creative and multidisciplinary approach to teaching, as has presented nationally on topics like critical thinking, filmmaking, and creative problem solving. Since retiring, she's continued her journey through the Wonder and Possibility platform and the Awe Deck, which she co created with Mary. A world traveler and passionate cook, she's explored everywhere from Tanzania to Peru and even learned to cook in Julia Child's kitchen in Provence. Wow,
Yeah.
cool. She's also the founder of Real Spirit Young Filmmaker Showcases and has served as board chair for the Kansas City Film Fest International. Her life is a living example of awe and curiosity in motion. So I'm so
Wow, that sounds
excited.
pretty good.
Yeah, I know how inspiring already, right? And I have to say, I'm always transparent with our listeners. So Barb and I kind of go way back. We both taught at an awesome elementary school,
We
Long
did.
Farm Elementary, and
Yes.
she was the gifted teacher. And yeah, so we got to cross paths and be a part of a great community way back when. And
It was. And what an amazing, awesome opportunity that we had
I know,
launching that school
yeah.
and the interplay and the synergy that was created there to benefit the children in the community. So
Um,
that was terrific, Robin. And it was a joy to work with you and teach with you for a few years there. So
yeah.
this is great to reconnect in this format.
Absolutely, Barb. I'm so excited to learn about your work and Mary's work and the Wonder and Possibility platform. So, Mary, why don't you start us off and tell us a little bit about how you and Barb got connected? How did your paths cross and create this duo that's, pursuing the science of awe?
It's a fantastic story. We met almost 30 years ago,
Mhm.
attending workshops around um, energy work, body, mind, spirit, how to cultivate wellness, that type of thing. We met at several workshops, actually pursued some things together, and over time just discovered that we shared a lot of foundational beliefs that we are energetic beings or spiritual beings having a human experience. And it's that understanding that's key to creating health and happiness. So we shared this belief, and that just cemented our friendship. And so over the years, I used to be in Kansas City, now I'm not, but we've maintained this friendship. And several years ago, decided we had so much fun talking about all of the things we were reading. We wanted to start a blog, and so we did. It's called Wonder and Possibility, and we wanted to curate and share all the resources that inspired us, practices, tools, authors, videos, etc. And from there, we stumbled into, I shouldn't say stumbled, uh, we discovered that there was a lot of research around awe. And it overlapped with our work so perfectly because kind of at the foundation of what we believed, maybe I'm jumping ahead too far here, but the idea that we are energetic beings, and so managing our energy is something we needed to do. And when we started reading about awe, and that science was showing it had all these benefits, it made you happier and healthier and smarter and more creative, etc., a light bulb kind of went off. This is because when you experience awe, you're shifting your energy. So it kind of came back to the beginning. And then together, Barb, you can jump in here. We read books, we watched TED Talks, we just soaked it all up. And then it inspired us to do some more. But I'm telling the whole story, Barb, so you need to jump in too.
No, that's fine, Mary, and that's the way we operate, Robin.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I mean, Mary and I, we talk about those moments where you connect with somebody that you really do connect with on a very deep level. And as Mary alluded to, we did start out in some workshops that had the theme regarding mind, body, spirit. How do you manage your energy? How do you tackle when you have those challenging situations, that it's a really holistic approach for it. And from that, it did really blossom, where even after the workshops or courses were over, we had such a connection that we would continue to meet independently and to nurture that interest and exploring different other options that fed into that understanding of how everything comes together. And even though, gosh, Mary, I think it's been like 15 years ago or more than that, 20 years ago that you moved up to Minneapolis.
26.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Time flies, doesn't
Time
it?
flies.
It's crazy.
And as you know, John Lennon would say, you make these plans and life happens. And there were things that happened and we experienced our life. But I would say, Robin, we always came back to this deep connection we have to wonder, and this deep connection that we look at the world around us and those bigger questions, as Mary offered, that we would have these discussions. And we always jokingly say it's over a cup of tea because we both enjoy tea. And we would go, when we were actually physically together, linger and savor those moments to really deepen that connection through these kinds of discussions. With coming to that idea of a blog and putting that together, that happened pretty much after I retired from education and teaching. As you said in the earlier intro, I loved teaching. I loved working with those kids. I loved trying to help them inspire their gifts within so they could be a gift to the community at large. And with the conversations with Mary, it seemed natural to say, okay, we've been exposed, we've been working and being seekers of this journey of life, and how do you expand it in a way that it's creative and productive, and not to overuse the phrase, but that you're a light in that way in times of challenges. And we truly thought, why not do a blog? And we worked on that. And the whole concept with awe really came about with some books that we discovered, in particular a book entitled Awestruck by a psychologist named Jonah, and I'm really
Paquette.
sorry.
His last name, I think it's Paquette. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that's how you pronounce it. It may be French.
Yeah, and as Mary said, I mean, it was like this perfect dovetail, emerging, going, wow, and here's some science. And Dacher Keltner, who is the foremost and lead researcher from the University of California at Berkeley, he has since 2003 really delved into what awe does for you on so many levels that, again, as we were talking before we started recording, mindfulness, awe, wonder, wow, look at the merging of all those components. So there's been a
Absolutely.
lot going on.
Yeah. Well, and I just love how, I mean, I believe God puts these people in our path,
Yes.
and we're these kindred spirits when we
Mhm.
find that person that just
Mhm.
um, we can do life with in that deep way, and we have such similar beliefs and views, but also challenge each other to grow and to, kind of just be in that process together. I love that you guys found that, and we're really intentional about continuing to grow because I think in today's world, people move away. I mean, luckily with technology, we can stay connected, but we don't always do that just because of the busyness and the stuff and the distractions and all of that. So kudos to both of you for continuing to nurture your friendship and relationship. That's beautiful. And I'm curious as to I'm curious. So I have lots of curiosity. That's one of our practices.
Yes.
So I try to practice it all the time, but I'm struck by how interesting both of your past professions have been and how they've contributed because and I have my own thoughts on this, but I would love to know how I see that how they're intertwined. Mary, from your work with hospice of just seeing people. I'm also a volunteer for St. Luke's Hospice here and have been
Mm,
for um, 25 years. And
mhm.
it's just this when you get to walk that journey with people
Yes.
when they're facing their own mortality, I say it's such a gift for me because
Yes.
it just reminds you of what's important and it's just moving and to learn from their wisdom and all the things so I'm guessing that that work has probably contributed to your passion for this topic, Mary. Why don't you speak on that? And then I'd love to hear how Barb's is. Really, I see Barb so much of what you did in the gifted education space because ultimately, as we want to nurture that curiosity in children, and that's what really opens the doors. And the things that I remember you doing were like, so outside the box and so creative. And it's like, this is so fun. And the kids, I just remember them just eating it up because you were right there, just nudging them to kind of stretch themselves to continue to grow. So, Mary, tell us a little bit about how your background contributed, and then
Sure.
Barb will hear from you.
Well, I think two pieces. My degree in holistic health, my interest there was my belief that modern medicine, Western medicine, pharmaceuticals all have their place and they have improved our life immensely, but they're not the only way to health and well being.
Yes.
I struggled with my own health issues for which traditional medicine didn't always have answers. So I was curious
Mm,
and on my own was experimenting with a lot of different complementary therapies. That's how Barb and I met. Um, and then I
nice.
wanted to study it further. And when you study all the different approaches to well being, you realize there's a bigger intelligence at work here. There's something else happening. We are vibrational beings. Things interact with that. So I think my holistic health background had me looking at the world with a bigger perspective and being very curious about how do we work within this paradigm.
Mm,
I will echo your sentiments about being a hospice volunteer. It is the most sacred work I
mm,
have ever done. The best, most fulfilling experiences have been with hospice. And the key there is it reminds us that life is a mystery.
yeah.
It is a total mystery and it is so sacred. And in even me, I mean, all of us, we get in autopilot, we're in our lives, we're going to the grocery, we're doing the things we do to live as human beings, and we lose sight of that mystery.
Yeah.
So my work with hospice just kept that in the forefront, and really, um, it's just really a deep part of who I am, viewing life through that lens. So both of those aspects really fed
Absolutely.
right into wonder and possibility, and certainly into awe.
Yeah. And I thank you for pointing that out too. I think that there are so many alternative ways of looking at our health and well being and so many things that contributed to it that are modern society doesn't always take into account.
Right.
As a walking miracle, by the
Mm.
grace of God, I'm still here after being diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2012.
Oh my.
So I am right there with you. The power of a lot of different things. For me, it was prayer. For it was just God's
Mhm.
will for me to stay here, which I'm grateful for every day. But yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I think it's just so true. Different things that can contribute, and having that openness
Mhm.
to explore those. Absolutely. Barb, tell us a little bit about how your background has kind of nurtured your, or maybe you just were born this way. And
Well, there is that. I would say, and I want to compliment Mary. I think in part of our relationship and her doing the hospice work, and obviously knowing you too, Robin, is she brings so much heart to any project, and she brings it authentically. And I think to go into the idea of wonder and awe, it's that heartfelt authenticity that there's more to life. There are these connections. That it's that digging out and finding the answers and reaching for it. I mean, I always joke with Mary because she does. She loves to seek. And I love how we connect with each other on that. And from my perspective, as you've already alluded to, working with gifted children, you can't help but be in wonder and awe. I mean, I would really say, okay, I'm the teacher of the gifted, because every day I came in, I would meet them where they're at, but it was always, and I didn't know that at the time, and to truly put a name to it now, of that sense of being awestruck, they would come in with the most profound questions or insights they had, or Mrs. Noble, did you know? And I'd say, no, but I know you're going to inform me and tell me about it, and it'll open up a door that I didn't even know existed. And that really does kind of go to the definition of awe, of that sense of expansion of something vast that you were not aware of before. And broadening your perspective, far beyond what Mary talked about, getting into the autopilot,
Mhm.
that you are looking at what a wonderful world we truly live in. And going back to, you talked about your experience. I've had a couple cancer journeys, and that was part of the reason Mary and I met, was some of those workshops as I was going through my own healing process and looking at complementing treatment plans that I had. Where can I go? Because I know this is my responsibility too, because it's the life I'm going to lead. And somebody isn't just going to fix me. I need to bring it to the table in terms of to be as whole and as complete and as authentic as possible to live a thriving life. So I get it. I'm celebrating 30 years of, and had an experience a few years ago, but I'm kind of like, you just every day, and you find the wonder and awe in every day. If I may say something else, both of you having that experience with hospice and walking that journey with people making their transition, is Dacher Keltner talks about 8 pillars or 8 pathways to awe. And one of them is that the life cycles, to stand in the mystery and the awe of death and the transition of death. And I've had the honor of being with people, not in the capacity that you have, but being with them at that moment. Or on the flip side, people talk about that awe of bringing a new life into the world. I mean, we all, if you've been a mother or whatever, there's nothing like that. And those are awe-filled moments that resonate on such deep, profound levels.
Absolutely. Well, and I love that you both are continuing to talk about authenticity.
Mhm.
Um, it's it's interesting, and I've been kind of just I love to just marinate, on certain things will come in my path, and I strive to live a life of authenticity, but also just how the research is really showing that we actually have much greater connection with each other when we are authentic, and how we can ease, and we all know this. This is kind of common sense, and yet in a world of social media and technology and this disconnect, we're so connected, but yet we're disconnected, face to face, eye to
Right.
eye. And this in this being able to recognize authenticity, and then to feel empowered to be, and confident and comfortable to be my authentic self, right? I mean, that's part of being mindful, is to be our authentic self. But I find that that becomes difficult for people, based on all kinds of things. So I just love that you continue to talk about authenticity. It's an area that I'd love to do a little more research on. Yeah. So anyway, let's dive a little bit more into so you started your blog post. What are some of the topics that you all kind of talked about in your blog post, and then what did that lead to next for you guys? Mary, how about let's start with you,
Oh
or if
gosh.
you or both of you, you can jump in.
To be honest, a lot of the blog articles we wrote were pre-COVID and through the first year of
Oh.
COVID. Um,
Which
and
probably were really helpful for people. I'm sure.
during the first, I don't know, 6 to 12 months of COVID, we wrote a lot of articles about self-care and how
Yes.
to manage self-care in the midst of international
Wonderful.
crisis and
Yes.
personal, all the things that we were feeling. So we would share meditations, we would share breathing exercises, we would encourage people to dance, we would encourage people to watch funny movies, we would share
Yay.
authors that inspired us. The blog posts prior to that were pretty much just based on our personal observations of life and
Mm.
the wonder that those observations created. And the possible, so our website, Wonder and Possibility. So almost every blog post, we revealed something that we found wondrous, and what possibilities it alluded to when we, paid attention to that. So one, for example, was I was on an airplane and I'm looking out at, from 30,000 feet. So you have that huge perspective of the planet Earth, and it just made my heart swell. So I wrote an article about, the view from 30,000 feet and
Mm.
what it does for us when we back up and we
Yes.
look at the larger perspective of life, and how that can open us to so much more good perspectives, good things coming to us when we do that. So it's kind of hard to remember all those years ago what the
That's
different
okay.
topics were. Barb, maybe you can remember some of the other
Well, I want to
things, how
speak.
it led to awe.
Well, I want to speak to that particular blog post, because if you come back and bring it circle, even before we really were looking at the science of awe, awe is about vastness, and here you had that experience of the vast world we live in. And like you said, your heart swelled and you had those goosebumps.
Mhm.
And again, you were at the doorway to awe without even naming it in that moment. And I think that's
Right.
been for us unconsciously, but now more consciously, a running thread, Robin. I mean,
Mhm.
even before we discovered awe and the science of it, by even looking at the idea of wonder, and that you wonder and question about
Yeah.
things. That's one definition, but that you open yourself to the wonder of life, that brings you to the portal and the doorway of awe, and deepening that and starting to really be in that moment with it. So coming back to the blog concept or ideas that we had, many of them were about ways we engaged with life and how we did look at different possibilities or opened our eyes in different ways. And when we came to the pandemic, we called it, I think, the giant pause, is that we
Yes, we
were
did.
looking, which is interesting thinking about Robin and some of your with the
Mhm.
mindfulness. I mean, it was that opportunity for a big giant pause.
Yeah.
So you had a chance to be mindful about things. You had a chance. I mean, over and over again, we would hear stories of families that, as horrific at so many circumstances were regarding the pandemic and COVID and lives lost. But there was also this other thread of families sitting down and eating together for the
The
first time,
gift, the
the
gift of
gifts in
COVID.
it, you
Mhm.
know, and so there's so many layers to it and so many possibilities. And when I sit here now, you know, 5 years later, and that period from 2020 to, let's say, 2022, because in terms of where we really were, there is a sense of wonder and awe of all the things that did happen, of people coming together in different ways, or taking that giant pause to linger and savor
Yeah.
what it means to be connected, what it means to be, you know, compassionate. So many doorways to awe in unexpected ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I say that all the time that COVID really did
Mhm.
give us a gift in so many ways of just forcing people to slow down
Mhm.
and to spend some time being. And that was really hard. And it was unfortunate it had to be in such a scary situation,
Sure.
right?
Mhm.
Because that added an extra challenge to it. But and I found that after people really started finding the joy of
Mhm.
pausing and spending more time at home and connecting and playing games and doing these things that they hadn't done maybe ever
Mhm.
in their families or maybe years earlier. But my challenge has always been to folks since then is I felt like it kind of lingered, but we're starting to see this shift back because of
Right.
autopilot, right? And that's
Mhm.
one of our brain facts in our curriculum because that, our old ways of operating are so well traveled neuron pathways in our
Right.
brain that, even though that was a time of for people to grow in that sense, if we don't keep at it, if we don't keep
Mhm.
practicing,
Yeah.
and keep those things top of mind, we just kind of shift back. And so it's always my hope with this podcast and with the work that I do, and certainly the work that you all are doing, is to help people keep that ignited in their lives,
Mhm.
so that they can keep moving forward and growing in that space. Yeah, beautiful. So tell me a little bit about, I would love to geek out for just a little bit on the science, if you don't mind. I love the science behind mindfulness, meditation, all of the positive psychology. And I feel like, what is certain communities have known for thousands of years, we now have science that's caught up to it, right? I always felt like when I started my business 11 years ago, most people didn't really know about mindfulness. It was kind of a woo-woo, pseudo-sciencey thing, right?
Right.
Yes,
People were
I get that.
skeptical. And I'm
Yeah.
sure, Mary, with your whole mind-body connection, holistic, it was much, uh, it just wasn't embraced like it is now
Right.
because
Right.
we have the science, right? And so I personally love the science. I also feel like the science takes it away from this. I find, I mean, just to be honest, there's people who are skeptical still, but once you start talking about the science, um, it takes it out of that feeling to this is the hard black and white. This is what we know from research, right?
Mhm.
And it totally kind of shifts it, and it kind of gains a little bit more respect and people perk up a little bit. And plus, I just think most people find the brain, and how it all works and comes together fascinating. So I'd love for either of you to kind of share some of the things you've learned in your exploration of possibility and awe about the science.
Well, Mary, I'm going to let you, because I know you love that too, like Robin. And, but the thing I've always, with some of the research I mentioned with Dacher Keltner, is how they keep coming back to um, qualitative data and quantitative data of what kind of physiological and psychological, and the whole thing when you were talking earlier about embracing it, because the positive, what I want to say, emotional psychology has truly been something that's been on the side, I think, more. And it's truly in the last 20 years or so that there is research to support it, because there's been a lot of research already about the negative impacts and the negative emotions, and we know about stress and anxiety. But what is it that happens to your body truly when you're in that timeless moment of awe? And there are physiological chemistry changes in your body that support that this isn't, as you say, woo-woo, or something that is just kind of what I'm going to say, not truly supported by science like it really is. So Mary, I'm going to, because I know that's something that you really love and embrace too.
Well, I do love reading the science, and I wish I could just articulate every study that's been done and how they measured it and what they measured, but I can't. I would encourage listeners to just Google all research and you'll find the studies. But it is fascinating that this is what I find most fascinating is that it's little moments of awe.
Yeah.
In every study they do, it's not like they took people to the Grand Canyon for a week.
Mm-mm.
It was that they exposed them to some brief episode of something that produced awe in that person and then measured some other outcome. So to me, it's fascinating that they've even decided it doesn't take a lot, little moments. The different impacts that it has on our health and well-being that they have measured is everything from it improves our moods. It helps us to release the oxytocin and the other feel-good chemicals in our body. It makes us better critical thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
It reduces inflammation or markers of inflammation in the body. So there's a real healing resource right there, because we know so much of disease starts with inflammation, or really just is inflammation. And so if awe can reduce the inflammation, the healing possibilities. There's the pun, possibilities.
Oh, and I was good. Could I jump in here for a second too?
Sure.
Is the other thing is that increase of pro-social behaviors of
Right.
after people, experience an awe moment, and we talk about microdosing. It doesn't need to have a big extension like Mary alluded to, of you don't have to go to the Grand Canyon, that there really is wonder surrounding you every single day, that there's examples of more kindness, more generosity, compassion that they've brought forth. And there's, it's not just a few studies anymore, it's hundreds of studies. I mean, back in 2022 and 24, I mean, there were over like 250 studies that are being done. And it's even, I know more now in 2025. So it's ongoing. There are lead researchers who are throughout the country, and it has become something, and I think even born out of the pandemic and that sense of isolation that people felt, the stress, that awe, when you are having those awe moments, you want to connect with the community afterwards. You have that sense of wanting to be part of something bigger. I mean, one of the pathways that Dr. Keltner talks about is collective effervescence. I love that one because
that's a great word.
Yeah, it's great, because when you think about those moments that you have been with a large group, be it like at a sports event or a concert or something that brings people together, and it's overall positive and you're raising the vibration and that energy is there. We've all felt that, and you feel that in your bones, and you really do have those goosebumps.
And you're high-fiving all the people around you that you
Yes,
don't even know.
yes,
Right.
those are, you feel charged, you feel that energy, that those chemicals that are bringing that happy mood around, and it can stay with you. And as you walk out or leave it, that there's that lingering effect from that. And our whole thought process is that you start connecting that, you start getting those micro doses, you start bridging them together. And the more and more you do that, wow,
Mhm.
Wow, wow, wow.
Well, and I love what you're talking about, your little moments, because
Yeah,
in our curriculum, we promote micro moments, is what we call
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
from micro practices, which are really what your card
yeah.
deck's all about, which we'll get to. But the science really supports that, and I feel like people are so busy, and I always say you don't have to take 30 minutes.
Yes.
You don't have to take an hour. You can take 60 seconds. You can
Mm-hmm.
take 2 minutes. And so I always help try to nudge people to build an awareness of micro moments in their day. So these natural pauses.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people, I always ask when I do a training, I'm like, so what do you do when you have an extra 2 minutes? And they always say, pick up my phone,
pick up my
right?
phone.
Right?
Right,
Because that's our default. That's our autopilot.
Right.
And so I always challenge people just to I mean, technology is here. Not saying don't use the phone,
Right.
but what if we paused and gave ourselves a moment to do some of the things you're talking about, to give ourselves that gift. And
Mhm.
really what in awe when what you're talking about is really it's so beautiful, and we reap all those rewards because we become present.
yes,
We're in the present moment, right?
yes,
And it's like
Absolutely.
it's such a natural ease, not easy, but it's so accessible,
mhm,
if we're intentional about just realizing. I use the example of just when we notice a beautiful sunset, and that moment
mhm,
where we're just like, oh, that's so beautiful. Like that moment, forever how long that is, we've paused the past, we've paused the future, and we are just present. And so
right,
instead of allowing those just to be at random, it sounds like what you're encouraging people to do is to actually be intentional about finding them, creating them, seeking them out so that we can
right.
use those for our benefit, which is so beautiful.
Well, we
Yeah.
like to call it, wonder seeking or becoming more wonder prone. And when you were talking about the sunset, I mean, Mary speaks to this very well. It's like you're in that moment and there's a timelessness quality about it. Time goes away, but also the thought process of asking questions in
Mhm.
terms of, wow, how did that come about? Because the rays of the sun hit it at that certain angle and it created this array of color. But here it is different today than tomorrow because of and you start going, adding the depth with your questioning
Mhm.
and you're lingering with that and exploring more.
Mhm.
It will raise you up in a way of going to a whole nother level with it and just saying, oh, it's a great sunset, just bringing more depth. Mary,
Mhm.
did you want to, because you're really good about sharing
Oh,
that with the
I think you,
questions.
I think you hit it, Barb. But if I would add anything, it's delineating the difference between simply noticing and maybe appreciating
Mhm.
Mhm.
to truly being awed by something. That there is a difference. Uh,
Tell us that difference, Mary.
okay, so let's say I'm out in a garden and I see a new beautiful flower I've never seen before. And I'm like, wow, look at that purple flower. I've never seen that. Isn't that cool? Ah, that's a good thing. That's being in the present moment. That's a little bit of wonder. But it becomes awe. And again, the definition of awe is perceiving something that brings a heightened reaction and amazement, and it's something that you've not considered before. It transcends your
Mm.
current understanding of the world. So in some way it's vast or it's mysterious, and it brings your awareness to a new level. So let's go back to the flower in the garden. Oh, it's beautiful, it's lovely, this is so beautiful, I just love this. And then you can ask questions. What is it in nature that causes one seed to turn into a beautiful purple flower, but another seed turns into a yellow daisy? How does that work? What
So
is
it's not.
behind all of that? So you're touching on the vastness of the supreme intelligence or whatever has designed this paradigm of life on earth and all of nature or all of humanity or all of science and technology that we have developed. you touch on the bigger story behind the experience by asking questions about it. How did this happen? Why is this way? And that opens you up to the, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know how that happens, but it does. And look at this garden. It's happened 1,000 different times. Then
Yes.
you're in awe.
Okay. So it sounds like noticing and pausing and being present is one thing, but the bridge to awe then is the curiosity piece of
Yes. Yes.
seeing it in a deeper, richer, more expansive way.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
lingering,
Sometimes it
And
lingering and
lingering.
savoring.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sometimes it doesn't take a lot of questioning because sometimes the experience is so new. Maybe you go to a museum and you stumble onto an exhibit of, I don't know, dinosaur bones. And let's say you'd never experienced dinosaur bones before. And you're just awestruck because it's totally new and you can't wrap your mind around it. Other times, if it's a familiar thing, and this is where awe becomes accessible in everyday moments, because you're always encountering things you're very familiar with. But if you stop and ask some questions about that, then
Mm.
you can go deeper. And so Barb and I have lots of examples that we share back and forth. You know, one of my favorites is I eat blueberries. I love blueberries. And so you can take a blueberry a dozen different ways with questions. Where did this blueberry come from? Or how do my taste buds know that that's a blueberry? And what happens from the time that juice hits my tongue to my brain saying, yum, I love this. This is a blueberry. That's just energy moving around inside my brain. And yet it happens like that and we don't notice it. It's like, oh, yeah, it's a blueberry. Or, oh my gosh, this is an amazing experience just eating a blueberry. So,
I love that you're highlighting both the big stuff and the small stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think it can be anything, everything, and all of it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes,
Yes, I
very much.
love that. I love that. Well, tell us a little bit about the card deck, how that came about. Is that kind of what happened after the podcast, or were there some other things that you want to share? But whatever. But tell us a little bit about the card deck and what that's about and what you're hoping for it.
Um, with the card deck, we had already been doing a lot of what we said earlier, exploration about awe and researching the science. We were voracious about, you know, as educators in our own way, of doing the research and watching videos and delving and taking a million notes. You should see all our Google Doc, you know, uh, drive. And we really were launching on the whole idea of trying to put together and putting together a workshop and doing some things there. And I think we were still coming out of the kind of the tail end of the pandemic. So there was this opportunity that came out through actually a friend of Mary's that talked about what if you created a deck of cards? And we kind of said, okay, that sounds great. 3 years ago, and we go, oh, we'll put that together,
Oh, I know how that
Yeah,
goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know you know. That's why I can say that. And it was like a huge learning curve. And it was that whole thing, you don't know what you don't know. But we recognized that we had amazing source material, amazing ideas. And the one thing that really stood out to us is with the books and the research and the articles and the TED Talks is the intention of how do you make this portable? How do you make this in a way that you were talking earlier about microdoses and making it possible, throughout the day, or, grabbing something that you kind of elevates you in that moment where you need to pivot in some way. And that's where the whole idea of truly putting a card deck together to make it accessible to a wider audience and to understand and giving layers of the science behind it, but also providing simple, easy ways, as we say, to awaken wonder every day, that it doesn't take 30 minutes, or it doesn't take, we jokingly say, going to the Grand Canyon or those big things, that it's really around there. And we're very grateful that after countless Zoom calls and countless ways of getting together, and Mary, jump right in there. I'm kind of giving an overview here, but it was an amazing journey, continues to be.
You did a great job. Yes, truly, the idea of doing a deck of cards came from a friend of mine, but it made perfect sense as soon as we heard it, because as Barb said, compiling all of these notes, and not only the ideas that we gleaned from what we read, but from our own lived experience, that we just had too many ideas to share. Well, you can put one idea on a card and you can share 52 ideas in one fell swoop. But really the key reason was, as Barb said, to make it accessible, because you can read the book, and we do love all of the books and recommend them highly. And if you're like me, you put a lot of Post-it markers in there and you think, oh, I got to remember this. Oh, that's a great idea. And then that book goes back on the shelf and you're walking around trying to kind of remember it.
Yeah.
But if you've got a deck of cards on your desk or in your purse or in the kitchen, and you pull one once a day, once a week,
once a month,
once a month, or just when you need a reminder, it is more accessible, and it helps you. I think having a physical deck of cards helps you build a practice. Because you're interacting with the deck in a different way than you're reading a book. So it was trying to take another direction away from just books and videos to make it more accessible. And it took a lot of writing and a lot of editing, and we changed directions many times.
Oh my God.
But we love what we came up with, and I'm sure there will be another version of it at some point. But
yeah,
well, I have a deck. I ordered it. I don't know. It looks kind of blurry on my end.
I don't know if you're looking at better ones.
Oh, mine's not. We're all.
It's all kind of blurry. Oh,
there we go, Mary.
There you go. Mary got it. Okay.
Mary got it.
So I love that. And I think I think you're spot on, as you know, because we have our own little card deck that we just launched recently. But I love the idea of people not picking up their phone. I mean, there's this tendency, everybody wants everything on their phone, but I think that there's some downside to that. It's certainly convenient, but there's something about getting off the phone, picking a card, having it there. I loved going through the card deck of yours. I just kind of went through and read them all because I was curious about our conversation, and of course found all kinds of ways our work interacts and is intertwined. But yeah, I love that. And I think it does make it easy for people just to pull one whenever it's convenient to, challenge themselves to practice it. And you're right, it's about making developing a practice. And it's amazing. It's like anything, the more we do it, the more. And probably now you're very much like me in that now you probably do it and you don't even realize you're doing it, because it just becomes who you are, right? Not something you specifically do, but eventually it's just like your natural way of being in the world is finding all these moments of awe and possibility and being curious. And it's a beautiful way of living.
Yes, and we are human, and we have plenty of days on autopilot that we do not experience those moments of wonder at all. But this is why it's great to have a true friend like Barb, because we can talk and we can vent about our days and then be subtly reminded, you know what, there's still something good in this day, and you can find it. So it does become more natural the more you do it. And what the cards, I think, were helpful. What about the cards was helpful? Not the right grammar there, but I mentioned the questioning, and that you take something you see every day, but you need to ask questions about it. So the cards kind of are worded in a way that get your wheels turning about those questions. So it gives you real examples of how to take that purple flower and go from just enjoying it to being in awe of it. Gotcha. So it puts that questioning, that curiosity layer in there for you.
And I want to speak too, Robin, to the fact that with the card deck, as we were going through the process of it with different kind of prompts and questioning, we also wanted that opportunity that sometimes that visual of looking at an amazing picture, or to prompt you to find that vista. That's where we have those deck cards that are those picture cards, but again, asking the questions. And the other part of this is that when you have more time, when you have that 30 minutes, when you have a little bit more time that you want to delve into, we call them the deeper dive cards, that it gives you an opportunity to maybe create and curate your own awe moments. One of the things that we talked about is having an awe jar, that you do that with your family, and the kids write down an awe moment they may have, and you stick it in the jar, and maybe at the end of the week you start sharing it. Or we talked about that opportunity in your classroom, or different ways that you are reminded that as you're seeking awe or becoming more wonder prone, that those moments do happen, and there are opportunities to deepen that experience and different activities that can also support it. So with the deck of cards, we tried to give an overview with an instruction book, because it's really something different and unique, just like your mindful cards, is that giving a little bit of instruction, but we also leave the door open in terms of there's not one set way of doing it. I mean, Mary spoke to one a day, one a week, one a month, if you just walk by and you just need a moment to kind of look at it. So there's the open-endedness of how do you actually incorporate those cards into your life, but with the mindfulness of this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And you start working on springing, or stringing those moments together, that when you look back, you're going, wow, that was really an incredible day, or that week. And you really feel like your life is thriving in unforeseen ways that you didn't know was possible before.
Yes. And isn't that the beauty of these small moments? I always say, I mean, it's not like it's going to turn your whole world upside down, but they start to add up, and the next thing you know, you're feeling lighter, and you're leaning into people, and experiencing things differently, it's just it's a slow evolution.
Yes.
But it's so beautiful when you can get to a point and you look back and you're like, wow, they all have kind of helped get me here. And there's, of course, plenty more to go. But just that, not a quick fix. But I mean, I do feel like it does offer this, even just it is a little bit of a quick fix. And then it's like just
Yes.
being present. But
Yes.
like those longer, those richer experiences of benefits, I think sometimes it's just those small things that happen over time.
I think it is sort of I don't know, quick fix is the right word, but you do benefit in the moment.
Yeah.
It totally shifts your energy. So if you were grumpy 5 minutes ago and you just had this wonderful experience, you're not going to go back real quickly to being grumpy. It's going to shift your energy in that moment, but it's a cumulative effect.
Yes.
So you string those together across a day or a week or a month, and you're less grumpy to begin with. And life feels better in general because you've had more of those moments. There was one thing that I was going to bring up when we were talking about the science that I want to throw in right here. And Barb alluded to it or spoke a little bit about this feeling of connection. So the science was showing that experiencing small moments of awe makes us feel more connected. And certainly the pandemic created so much isolation, but I think the state of our world today, we see it in the news, we feel it in our communities, sometimes even within our families, this distance, this separation. And so as a society, we need something that brings us back together. And if we can't do it in the social political arena, maybe we do it within our own lives, one little all moment at a time, because if it's going to make us feel more connected, more compassionate, more a part of humanity rather than a separate being,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of benefit for us as a whole.
Well, and I even think that the research on loneliness, which is, we're disconnected and therefore we experience that loneliness, just the detrimental effects of loneliness. And that
Mhm.
it is everywhere. I mean, people even in busy lives can experience this sense of loneliness because they
Right.
haven't really connected with others. So yeah, I appreciate you highlighting that for sure. We all yearn for that. We all hunger for
Yes.
that. To be
Mhm.
seen, to be feel connected to something. And it doesn't have to be a ton of people, right?
No,
Just it's
no.
just it's just being present and with each other and yeah, having that. And you two have that in each other. And I know you've built it in your families as I have, but what a gift. Yeah, that we want for everybody. So
Yeah.
there's two things I want us to do really quick before we wrap up. One is I would love for you to share what would be one thing, and maybe it's something from the card deck, maybe it's not, but what would be one thing that you would recommend or suggest to someone listening today or watching today that they could start implementing tomorrow or today that would be easy and doable if they want to stretch themselves a little bit and practice all. So each of you just share kind of like, what do you think would be one thing that you'd recommend they want to start this journey?
One of my favorite cards, and I hope it shows up here, is called Stop in the Name of Awe. And the next time you go walking someplace, I'm a big walker in the morning, and take that time just to stop where you are and do a 360, a slow 360. Take a minute, take 2 minutes. And as you're slowly turning with intention, truly look at something that you may not have noticed before that gets you out of the autopilot, that maybe there's something you linger a little bit about, and something that you savor.
Mm,
And as simple as that, in terms of being mindful about it and pausing, we're not going to say you're going to have goosebumps in that moment, but that you have found maybe something that you wonder about, that you're going to question or ask about, or you're going to feel the wonder of it going, wow, I didn't notice that before. I didn't realize or recognize that. I will give you one small example that happened to me recently. I have a regular route I walk, and it was early in the morning, and suddenly I just kind of did that on my own. I just stopped, and I'm going to turn around and just see. And I was struck, Robin, by where I stood, and the light was coming through the trees, and they were covered and glistening like diamonds with the water, beads on it. And again, kind of being transported and transcended into that moment of, look at this beauty that's here, that if I just walk by,
you would have missed.
missed totally. And I just stood there and I savored and lingered for that moment. And I know that sounds big, but it transformed me in that small way of like, wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Awesome.
So that
Thank
was,
you for
yeah,
thank you for
yeah,
sharing, Barb.
thanks.
Mary, how about you? What would be
Well,
your one?
Barb kind of hit on it. I think the easy thing to do right now is to pause at some point during the day and notice. Just pick something, because what you're trying to do is experiment with, what can I be curious about that's in my everyday environment. So
Mhm,
pause, notice, and then get curious. Ask a question and
mhm,
see where it leads you. And the questions, typically questions like how or why,
mhm,
will get you going. And that's a good starting point.
Great. I love that. That's easy. That's doable. It's very manageable.
mhm.
So, as we kind of wrap up, I would love for you to share with us, what is your current go-to right now? I feel like I'm always asking the people I interview, in being authentic and modeling that we want to model what we're trying to encourage others to embrace. What's your go-to, your favorite right now,
Mm.
in terms of a practice or something you're doing to help you with whatever this day, this week has brought you?
Well, my go-to doesn't change very often, but it's simply, especially if I'm outdoors, looking up at the sky and remembering we are on planet Earth. This whole thing we call life is a miracle that's happening on the only planet we know of that has this thing, this atmosphere, this system of nature, all of the things. And we get to enjoy that. And it is truly miraculous. And I have to look up at the sky usually to get myself to, get that bigger perspective. But no matter what funk I'm in, to go, yeah, this funk doesn't matter
Yeah,
because you are on a planet that is spinning in space and something is keeping everything in line. So just relax. This
love
is
it.
awesome.
Love it.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
perspective. Okay, so we're going to look up at the sky if we need a little perspective. Barb, how about you? What's your go-to right now?
My go-to right now is interactions with people
Mm,
and that whole sense of community and connection
mm,
and um, being present in the moment and really honoring what somebody is bringing to the table, no matter what it is. In terms of, we've talked about this earlier, is that connection and thinking about even when I hear stories about what's going on in their life and what brought them here at this moment, but feeling a sense of great gratitude for having that moment with this person in a way that's, as we talked earlier about, that's authentic. And when I'm having these authentic conversations, I am so grateful, and that's happening more and more.
Mhm.
And it is extremely important to me that as I reflect upon it, there's that heartfelt connection and that heartfelt compassion, and how much we yearn for that and how much we need that in our lives. And when I think about it, how blessed and how awestruck I am that humans have that capacity to do that,
mm,
that we
mm.
really do can connect in that way. And that's not something that's not to be missed in
Yes,
this journey.
absolutely. I always say it's a gift we give ourselves, but we give it to other people, but
Right.
we receive just as much.
Yes,
We can just really be present with each
absolutely.
other. And you're right, it is such a gift. So, if someone wants to reach out to you, how would they get a hold of you? What if they want to order a card deck? How would they go about getting a hold of you or placing an order?
The quickest thing is to go to our website, which is simply wonderandpossibility.com.
Is and written out?
It's
Okay.
written out. Yep.
Okay.
Just all the words, nothing capitalized, just wonderandpossibility.com. You can go to the website if you want to contact us. There's a contact button where you could send us
Mhm.
an email, or if you just want to email us, we are barbmary@wonderandpossibility.com. So pretty easy. We'd
And
love
Okay.
to hear from you.
yeah, and the cards are available on the website. So if you feel inspired to order yourself a deck, please, you can go there, and it's drop shipment, and they can be sent right to you at home. It's an evolution process, as you know, in terms of getting those out, but we hope that people truly find us, and thank you for the opportunity here to light a path to wonder and awe. And we hope that people are able to string together their micro doses of awe and have a really great, thriving life. So thank you so much, Robin.
Oh,
Yes, thank you
absolutely. It's
so
been
much.
such a joy visiting with you too, and so excited. I know I feel already just inspired to pick up a card, to continue my own personal journey because as I always say to those on our podcast, we're here. This podcast is here to inspire and empower all of our journey to living a life of mindfulness, and living a life of awe and possibility is part of that. So
Yes.
thank you for the work that you're doing. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of our listeners, certainly. You can like, comment, subscribe, share this podcast. You can always contact me at Robin at mindful-momentum.com or at our website, mindful-momentum.com. I love to hear from people as well, but for now we're done, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you so much, Barb and Mary.
Thank you so
you.
much.